Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Lynchburg. We're glad you're here this morning. I know there are lots of folks who are traveling in this week after the 4th of July, but we're glad you chose to be with us this morning. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whoever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on land originally part of the Monica Nation. I'm Terry Bailiff. I'm the professional minister of this congregation, but I share the ministry with all the members and friends of this congregation. If you're here with us for the first time, we're glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in this service for our church community we love. We hope that if you're visiting, you'll stay with us and chat during social time to find out a little more about our service. If you want to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, then you can find a virtual visitor card on our website at uulynchburg.org under Sunday services, or you can fill out the yellow card on the back of the chair in front of you. When you fill it out, you can put it in the offering basket. Please note that this summer, our young people are meeting in their classrooms from the beginning of the service. If your young person would like to stay in the service, in the sanctuary, then there are activity bags with activities in the foyer and in the hall next to the elevator. Joining our service today, for those who haven't met him yet, is Arthur Rashap, who is currently a new member, a relatively new member of our congregation, and a former member of the UU congregation in Charlottesville, where he was a member of their worship associates team. And they worked with the ministers to discuss sermon topics and to help lead services during the ministers' summer vacations. And he's been active here so far in the discussion group, and now he's on the Sunday Services Committee. And I would like to warn you, I need to leave right after the service today to drive to South Carolina in time for a Zoom meeting this evening. So I'll be gone for most of the rest of July, but will be available for emergencies and special needs. So now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service, taking a few calm, deep breaths. As we enter our time of worship, we share these words together. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life.
The opening words today are from Arthur Powell Davies, who is the minister of the All Souls Church in Washington, D.C. He was a prolific author of theological books and sermon collections. He came to national prominence in the United States through his liberal activism and advocating civil rights for African Americans and women, and ethical stands against post-war nuclear proliferation and the methods employed by the American government during McCarthyism. His words: "So far as I can see, all the great leaders and the great exemplars of religion possessed faith in life's essence, in its hidden meaning, in its moral claim, and in the righteousness of its inner spiritual guidance. And by this, the great ones live their lives. So must we. There are no problems greater than our power to solve them. There are no burdens greater than our strength. We shape, by every moment of our lives, the great decisions. Then let us venture still with reason as a lamp to guide us, but lighted with the light of faith."
I invite us now to rise in body or spirit as we share our opening hymn, number 346. Come sing a song with me.
Can't hear you. Your mic is off, Terry.
Punch a button to give there. And we also invite those who are here to offer their gifts. Given in love and hope, continuous cycle of love and hope.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
It is the tradition of our community that we share the joys and the concerns of our lives. Spirit of life and love, we hold up our vulnerability this morning. So aware that there is danger and trauma in the world. Some days it's hard to make sense of how we can move forward in trust and hope to build justice and peace in our community, our nation, and the world. And yet, we do cling to hope and trust. May we therefore be those who build bridges over troubled waters, that we may find new visions for possibility. We hold up today our concern for those in our community, nation, and world who are hungry, who seek adequate housing, those who lack medical care, those who are lost from their families or lost in mental illness. May we find ways that we can work to heal our community, our nation, and the world. These things we acknowledge in a spirit of possibility, knowing that the mystery of life always has new possibilities that we might access as we live our lives. Amen.
Gather the Spirit, harvest the power. Our separate fires will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of this power. Our trials in this light appear all the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy, woe and man. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit of heart and mind, seeds for the sowing are laid in store, nurtured in love and conscience refined, with body and spirit united once more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring and summer to fall, the chorus of life resounding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength, gather to celebrate once again.
When giving a talk, I was told a good outline was, first, tell them what you're going to tell them. Then tell them. And finally, tell them what you told them. So what I'm going to tell you is that there is a threefold approach to finding happiness. Goodness knows that over the past few years, these years have been challenging ones, and listening to and watching the media today certainly gives us much to be concerned about. We here at the First UU Church in Lynchburg are having a number of sermons from guests regarding ways to cope, act, and be in order to cope and soar beyond the events and divisions that fill the media. Terry provides us with both insights into the problems that appear seemingly on a daily basis, and provides a spiritual base from which to deal with them. In reviewing these approaches, what I got was that for the members of this congregation, what I'm doing may seem like this is preaching for the choir. To most of you, the paths outlined are known or familiar, and are those which you most probably already know and practice. Strictly speaking, happiness can be defined as the feeling or state we are in when we experience a positive result that is most often short-term. We win a game, we have a great meal, we get a good grade, we get a raise, we see a magnificent sunset. Wonderful things that leave us wanting more. The longer-term state is called joy. It's a state of being that permeates our outlook in everyday existence. It's how we live our lives and who, in the end, who we are. So what I'm going to tell you, that there are 3 routes to happiness, routes that you can take at any time and which can guide the way you look at life and the events that happen all around you and lead to a life that is joyous for you, for your family and friends and associates, and hopefully for all life in existence. We'll explore some simple processes, get some good advice, and hopefully we'll leave with some good news. And I'm betting that to many of you, this is not anything new, and that your life is one that is joyous. So let us agree that we all want and hope for happiness. We have indeed defined the pursuit of happiness as an inalienable right. Our neighbor Thomas Jefferson did a good job with that. We have fought wars and constituted our government supposedly to guarantee that right. So how can we attain happiness? There are several paths to reach that goal. Each involves attitude and perspective. And here's the good news. Each is available here and now. For many years now, I've been looking into this happiness question. I thought perhaps I could distill the thoughts and investigations of others into a potion that, taken daily, could lighten and brighten my days and the days of all those around me. This potion would give perspective to what I had and what I did, and it would enable me to share thoughts and joys with others. In my various incarnations, I've worked with and for some of the wealthiest and most powerful people on the planet. I've been exposed to those who were probably admired, who were looked up to, and whose lives were seemingly ideal. Yet often behind that facade, I learned there often lay unhappiness, discontent, fear, and dissatisfaction. What was the problem? And what might be the solution? Let's look at 3 routes to happiness. The first relates to reducing your perceived wants and taking clear stock of what you truly have. The second involves how you hold each event, each happening, each moment in your life. And the third involves moving from ourselves to others in love, in compassion, and in true concerns. Everything we do, not only as individuals, but also as a society, can be seen in terms of this fundamental aspiration to be happy, an aspiration that is shared by all sentient beings. The desire to be happy and to avoid suffering knows no boundaries. It's in our nature, it improves our lives, yet it seems that those living in the materially developed countries, for all their industry, are often less satisfied, less happy, and to some extent suffer more than those living in less or developed countries. If we compare the haves with the have-nots, the rich with the poor, it seems those with less material things are often the least anxious and unsatisfied, even though they're plagued with physical pains and sufferings. As for the material rich, many do not know how to use their wealth intelligently or for the greater good. They're often so caught up with the pursuit of acquiring still more that they make no room for anything or anyone else in their lives. In their absorption, these rich people seem to lose the dream of happiness that the riches were supposed to have provided. As a result, they're tormented, torn between doubt about what might happen and the hope of gaining more, unsure of the nature and authenticity of their personal relationships. They're plagued with mental and emotional suffering, even though outwardly they may appear to be leading successful and comfortable lives. This inner suffering is clearly connected with growing confusion as to what constitutes morality and what its foundations are. So let's get back to the good news. Here's a basic start. During my search for a shortcut to happiness, I found and was fascinated by a simple equation. All right, a little math, but I think you all can get it. Happiness equals what you have over what you want. Happiness equals what you have over what you want. How might this work? First, let's plug in some numbers to represent worldly goods. If we have 5 but want 10, then we're at only a 50% rate of satisfaction or happiness. You can substitute pretty much any material item. You have 1 car, but you want 2. I have a 2-bedroom house, but I want one with 4 bedrooms. You have $1 billion, but you want 10 or 100 billion. You can fill in your own blanks, and if you don't, the folks in the advertising business that flood the media certainly will help you. It's un-American and disrespectful of the American dream to not want more than what you have. And stop and take stock for a minute as to what you actually have. Besides the wonders of nature, your family, your friends, the support you give and get, all the non-material things in our lives, identify these items and you see what you actually have. And that materially increases your happiness dramatically. So here's some good news. I would suspect that I would get agreement from most of you that worldly goods, stuff alone does not equal happiness. Of course, we have a need for a certain amount of material things, but there's something amiss with the current American way of creating desire and artificial needs that does away beyond the basics. If this stuff doesn't lead to happiness and joy, then what does? Obviously, material things satisfy us on a physical or sensual level. An animal's quest for happiness is pretty much restricted to survival and to immediate gratification of sensory desires. Think about how blissful your puppy is when you toss her a treat or scratch his belly. Sensory gratifications, although pleasurable, are only transitory, not permanent. The relative brief elation we experience when appeasing sensual impulses may not be very different from what the puppy feels after he's gobbled up that treat. Then it's, where's the next one? In the same way, when we fulfill our immediate desires, the happiness we feel is soon followed by craving for more. At best, the happiness we derive from having a good meal or other ways we experience a temporary satisfaction. This high lasts only until the next time we feel hungry or feel down. A second path to happiness can be found in the approach set forth by Barry Neal Kaufman in his book, Happiness is a Choice. This approach was the theme of Bobby McFerrin's song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. And don't you worry, I won't scare you with my singing. You can let events determine the state of your life, and you can be your life's author. You can let events determine the state of your life, or you can be your life's author. By deciding to hold what transpires in a positive way, to say no to unhappiness, to acknowledge your capacity to choose your beliefs and feelings, as well as your ability to take a directorial role in guiding your responses to events and to people's actions that you are disturbing. You can lift yourself out of a funk and also work towards ways to create a solution to support one that's proposed. You can be the director of what happens in your life. In this mode of taking charge of how you hold things in events, you seek and create happiness in itself and for itself. You don't need a reason to be happy. Making up reasons is part of the game we play when justifying unhappiness. And if you want to create and live in a world filled with people who are more loving, accepting, peaceful, and supportive of each other, the first step is to give the gift of happiness and love to yourself. We cannot reach out and give something we have not yet experienced inside. Go to those moments or extended periods in your life and bring them forth to guide you on how to hold the concern now. Changing how you experience the discomfort, the pain and concern from what has occurred by your decision enables you to go directly to experience hope, leads to happiness and love. So again, you can decide here and now or whenever you want to be happy. That's more good news. A third path to happiness is set forth in a wonderfully written book, Ethics for a New Millennium, by the Dalai Lama. In addressing this issue of achieving happiness, he defines the principal characteristic of genuine happiness as peace, inner peace. We've talked about peace all day today. To achieve this inner peace, he calls for spiritual revolution. In his view, whether or not a person is a religious believer does not matter much. What is important that he or she be a good human being. What then is the prescription for good human beingness? Good human beingness. It consists of nothing more than acting out of concern for others. A two-pronged approach is suggested to finding and holding inner peace. The first relates to our basic attitude, how we relate to external circumstances. As with Barry Neal Kaufman, it's proposed that we do have a choice in how we view and react to others and to events that happen. Although we cannot always change the external situation to suit ourselves, we can change our attitude, how we hold things. The other major source of inner peace is the actions we undertake in our pursuit of happiness. These range from those actions that make a positive effect through those that are neutral to those that have a negative effect. As we first saw, when we desire things for no reason beyond the desire for enjoyment that gives us, ultimately, they tend to bring us more problems. Yes, it's part of human nature to satisfy our cravings, to want to see, to touch, to possess. Yet in the end, this having doesn't last, it's transient, and doesn't create and sustain our happiness and joy. To apply this to a present day concern, we need to look no further than the current furor over the pursuit of personal profit in business and even in politics. This is done without the consideration of the potentially negative consequences that these practices bring. The joy of rising stock prices or profits from inscrutable trading in securities that create nothing but enormous profits for very few with no benefit for others has yielded many negative results. affecting people's jobs, their homes and savings, their standard of living, and the possibilities for their children. Not to ignore the damage to the future of the whole planet. Each day, then, by engaging in this spiritual practice of being concerned about and caring for others, step by step, you can reorder your habits and attitudes so that your own concerns become less important and overwhelming, and those of others become paramount. By engaging in this practice, you will find that you enjoy peace and happiness more yourself. This prescription allows you to relinquish your envy, to let go of your desire to triumph over others. Instead, you work to benefit others with kindness, with courage, and with confidence in doing so, you're sure to meet with success. You practice welcoming others with a smile. You're straightforward and impartial. You treat everyone as if he or she were a close friend. A direct result of this practice is inner peace. Inner peace becomes the principal characteristic of happiness. This explains the paradox that while we all can think of people who remain dissatisfied despite having every material advantage, there are others that remain happy, notwithstanding being in the most difficult circumstances. Why is conduct inspired by the wish to help others the most effective way to bring about general happiness? Consider the following. We come into the world as a result of the actions of others. We survive here in dependence on others. There's hardly a moment in our lives when we don't benefit from the activities of others. Most of our happiness arises in the context of our relationship with others. Altruistic actions not only bring about happiness, but they also lessen our experience of suffering. Although each of us may experience similar misfortunes and the same instances of life as sickness and old age and mishaps of one sort or another, the suffering which undermines our internal peace, bringing anxiety and frustration, disappointment, they are lessened in our concern for others. We then worry less about ourselves and hence experience our own suffering as less intense. So what does this all tell us? First, because every action has a universal dimension, a potential impact on the happiness of others, certain universal rules are necessary as a means to ensuring that we do not harm others. Secondly, it tells us that genuine happiness consists in those spiritual guidelines of love, compassion, patience, of tolerance, of forgiveness, and humility. It is these that provide happiness, both for us and for others. So the practice seems simple, it is a practice. And it comes with a lifelong guarantee. So how did that end up then? We could join with the Dalai Lama as he says, "This then is my true religion, my simple faith. In this sense, there is no need for temple or church, for mosque or synagogue, no need for complicated philosophies, doctrine, or dogma. In our own heart, our own mind is the temple. The doctrine is compassion, love for others, and respect for their rights and dignity, no matter who or what they are. Ultimately, these are all we need. So long as we practice these in our daily lives, then no matter whether we are learned or unlearned, whether we believe in Buddha or God or follow some other religion or none at all, so long as we have compassion for others and conduct ourselves with restraint out of a sense of responsibility, there's no doubt we will be happy."
Thank you. Let us now rise in body or spirit as we share our closing hymn. 128, for all that is our life.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
As our service draws to a close, we extinguish the flame of our chalice as we share these words together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our final words of blessing come from Barbara Cheatham. And now we take our leave. Before we gather here again, may each of us bring happiness into another's life. May we each be surprised by the gifts that surround us. May each of us be enlivened by constant curiosity. And may we remain together in spirit till the hour we meet again. So be it. Lovely. Let's take a few minutes now to